let's move ahead to our next topic that we'll be talking about. And Sachin, it's all over to you again. What are the pillars of emotional competencies? What can you suggest?
Um, to the pillars of emotional competencies, the pillars of emotional intelligence, as I think probably covered before, is five components which we talk about: self-awareness, self-regulation, social skills, empathy, and self-motivation. So these needs to be developed as core competencies. I feel that uh, in order for us to say developing emotional intelligence in people, and again, developing not in the sense that it doesn't exist. Emotional intelligence exists in all of us to some degree and level. It's more about enhancing it, nurturing it, nourishing it more. So it's not zero in anybody. So it's all there. We just have to take it to take it forward, take it more from there. Um, Now the question comes how? What we need to do in order to develop all this? So to answer that question, the first thing I would say is what emotional intelligence is not, because this is important. I've heard and experienced so many misconceptions about emotional intelligence, or what people believe that they are doing in terms of emotional intelligence. So I would like to first point out that what it is not, and what it is not is an academic subject. It is not something that you can just learn. I'll explain this further, that what I mean by that. But first of all, it is not an academic subject. It is not philosophy. It is not something to be discussed and you make philosophies out of it and things like that. It's not a science either. It's not a model that here it is and it applies to everyone. So it's very subjective. Same thing that could work for me may not work for you at all. So very subjective, and because it is subjective, it is gray. It can be very difficult also for many leaders to consider and implement, because we are so used to implementing something on a classroom level kind of a thing, um, that model of studies that we have followed from school is to um, put a batch in a class and share something with them and expect that everyone gets it in the same way, because it doesn't work like it's not meditation, it's not yoga. So that's another thing. It's there could be some elements of it in there, but definitely nowhere close to all that. It is about developing self-awareness, and the word itself is self-explanatory. Self-awareness cannot be a generic model. Your self-awareness and my self-awareness is very different. Saloni's self-awareness would be very different. A person who's listening to this, watching this video, their self-awareness is very different. So we can talk about self-awareness, but it's got so many different versions, got billions of versions. As someone said that there's one earth, but billions of worlds in it. So self-awareness is something that needs to be developed, that needs to be nurtured. Without self-awareness, there is no emotional intelligence that you can develop. And mindfulness, practice of mindfulness comes very handy when you want to develop self-awareness. That's one of the ways by which we practice. In my own personal life, I practice that, as well as in Wuji, whatever we do is around the principles of mindfulness. So learning more about mindfulness and learning from the point that you have to do it. Emotional intelligence and mindfulness is like a test that you give first and you learn the lesson later. It is like that. There is no learning and then doing. It's doing and learning. That is how you practice emotional intelligence. You just start with it. You start practicing it. You will get it wrong. You will fail. You will probably want to hit this target and you hit a different target. Doesn't matter. That's the only way. Hit and trial. So you have to start practicing. You have to start going out there, practice your mindfulness, practice your presence of mind, practice your self-awareness, and that's it. Now, how to do that? There are many ways to do it, but my favorite one, my personal favorite one, which I would say, is If you are really serious about developing emotional intelligence and mindfulness, then first work with someone. So have a mentor, have a master that can guide you for some time. So could be few months, could be whatever time scale. So have a mentor that can create some system, some process for you to take this forward, and doing that will help you. You can always take it over from them later when you get good at this, when you get a hang of it, that what is going on, how I am developing my self-awareness. Then you can take over from there. But initially, in early days, I would highly recommend that work with someone, find a good mentor who who's done this, who's doing this, who's implementing it in their own life, um, and they can guide you. That's the best solution that I can suggest.
And how do you define your good person or like somebody who has been doing it, but how do you define they are actually successful in doing that? That's again a question I happen to have in my mind.
Um, it's a good question, and there is not so much good answer that I can give you for this, but I can say that when you meet the person, um, you would know. And again, the person doesn't have to be anywhere as such. Like the person just has to be one step ahead of you. That's all. Okay. Um, as long as they are one step ahead of you and you have something to learn from them, you learn. As soon as you get to the level that they are at and they got nothing more to offer, you move on, you find another mentor. So that is how it is. The person doesn't have to know everything, has figured out everything, implemented everything, nothing like that. As long as you can learn from them, as long as they have something to offer, you hang around. And then when you have got it, see, a good mentor would be the one who would always be one or two steps ahead of you, because they are also learning, right? So no one has got there, no one will ever get there. We are all getting there. That is all there is. There is no destination. We are all getting there. As long as the person who's guiding you is a little bit ahead of you, that's good enough.
Okay. So it's like finding a soulmate and you don't know who will be the best soulmate for you, but your search goes on.
Yeah, exactly. It's and look, you will. There are many people you will find, and I'm sure that, um, see, when you decide that you want to go down this track and you want to find someone, you'll be surprised at how many people around you would already be at that level. You just never looked at them from that eye. So
That's to say that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
exactly. Lao Tzu says that when the student is ready, the master appears, and when the student is really ready, the master disappears.
Again, a nice concept. Okay, so with this, we'll move on to the next discussion that is there. Why is emotional question more important than intelligence question, and that helps in rising to the top or maybe rising to the next level in terms of your role in a company?
Just yesterday only, we had a session with one of our clients, and I think this question relates to that particular topic. So yesterday's topic was future of workplace, and I was sharing with them a research that was done by Forbes, which talks about how the future workplace is going to look like, and what we need to do in order for us to prepare for it now. And when we talk about future workplace, I'm not talking about 5 years, 10 years down the track. For many companies, this future workplace is actually a current workplace. It's happening already. And for the others, it will probably happen in next few months or maximum a year. That's how close this is. So it talks about one of the things that with the advancement of AI and robotics, a lot of the work, nearly 30% of tasks that are repetitive in nature will be moved to AI and robotics, which means that still AI and robotics is not um, very developed or hasn't reached the stage where we can consider them emotionally intelligent. So all the tasks and all the interactions that require emotional intelligence are going to be falling in our lap more and more, because all the technical stuff has been taken care of. So for that reason, developing emotional quotient, developing emotional intelligence has become one of the topmost requirement, topmost skill to survive in future workplace. And without that, it's not going to be possible for many people. Especially we talk about gig economy, and now millennials and Generation Z, they are preferring to be part of gig economy, which requires that you can form a team. If you are a multinational company, you can form a team where one person could be in Argentina, another person could be in France, the third person in Bangalore, and they don't even have to meet each other. Like with fast internet, fast broadband, you can be working from home or working from even Himalayas, be there, and as long as you have high speed internet, you can be part of a global team and be delivering projects that way. Now, what is the difference? Why emotional intelligence is important? See, when people travel to another location, when I go to another, physically go to another country, I breathe that air, I drink that water, I am with those people, I can see them, I can feel them, I understand the culture. But when I'm not there, when I'm still in my country and I'm interacting with people in different country, a high level of empathy and emotional intelligence is required for me to interact with them, to understand their frame of mind, where they are coming from, because they are sitting in a very different environment as compared to me, and I've never been in that environment before. And for me to understand where they are coming from, why they think like this, why they talk like this, their culture and all that, um, development of empathy and emotional intelligence, social skills have never been higher to succeed in this kind of work environment. So that is how much important it is.
Saloni, it's all over to you now, talking about the same thing.
Like I agree with what Sachin just shared. The fact is that when you look at the skills that have helped you reach where you are today, the same set of skills, given the change in in the environment and the dynamism, when we look at not just intercultural, but also businesses happening across the borders, with the way that people today are working in teams where not just understanding or not just the time that you get to really connect, it's all over the net, it's all virtual. So empathy and emotional intelligence, as being part of emotional intelligence, the understanding of what is it that people are experiencing, the understanding of what's pinching another person. Today, immediately something happens in UK, we come to know in India. And we are able to relate. Why? Because we have seen something similar happening, our side of the border, and we can say that, yeah, why are these clashes happening? Because we are witnessing it here as well. But there are gray areas too. And when we work with people, the walls, the way we understand certain things, and we do not understand certain things because we've never had that experience or exposure before. So the only element, which is the humane element, becomes so much more important. Are we able to deal with people and work in collaboration to deliver results together, without empathy, without social awareness, having the relevant skills, and without having this entire EQ in place, which can be further developed. It really makes a lot of sense for people to have this skill, and without which, yes, it will be much more challenging. So completely, on point. IQ is something that you've already, and as per tests, IQ is you up to a level, up to a certain age, your IQ reaches, and then it doesn't go beyond that. It's already reached that level. But EQ is, totally different ballgame. You can keep developing it. it's like you're still on that journey. Like, you'll never get there 100%, but you will always be on that journey.
Right. Both of you aptly said that. And with this, I recall one of the webinars that I was attending, and this person happens to be the HR head of a well-known social media platform. And what he was discussing, like since he was taking the global discussions every day with the teams all across the world, so they have been cooking and whatever the burnt dishes were there, they talk specifically about that. Just to remind them that, okay, fine, it's okay to be failed at doing something in the first go. And that was something different, okay, because we keep talking about the success, but if the team is able to collaborate and talk about the failures also at the same time, that will also show the leader as a vulnerable side, as Sachin mentioned earlier into one of the discussions, okay. So that gives others also with the feel that, okay, fine, it's not only who they are doing it, okay, it's the others also facing the same challenges.
Very well.
With this, we'll come to the end of a discussion today, and that is like how emotional intelligence can be applied in day-to-day life. Any examples or anything that you both think that can be done?
As I shared earlier, I believe that to start with, if we are starting out on this journey to develop emotional intelligence, um, I would highly recommend that go with a guide, go with a mentor. Don't do it alone. It's it will it will inspire and motivate you, because doing it alone could actually have a negative side effect of it as well, that you might get disheartened. And also, when we talk about self-awareness, um, self-awareness is not something that you can evaluate personally yourself. Somebody else has to evaluate it for you. Somebody else has to know that how you were before and how you are now. um, I need to be, um, uh, someone has to show me the mirror. So self-awareness, yes, I have to develop it myself. Nobody can develop it for me. Nobody can run this race for me. I have to do it myself. But I need someone to show me the mirror, that where I am and what are my blind sides, what are my shadows, what are my what are the things which I don't want to see. That's the biggest challenge, that sometimes we don't want to see what we don't want to see. So someone needs to hold me accountable. Someone needs to hold me accountable to say that I cannot ignore that. I can't unsee this. I have to see this. So this is where it's very important that the journey should start with a good mentor, with a good guide. And once you get used to the process, once you understand how this whole process works, then later on you can decide that whether you want to still do it with another mentor or you can take it forward yourself. Um, but personally, I don't really see a reason why you don't want to continue with a mentor. I'm still continuing with mentor. My journey started almost 20 years ago. My mentors changed, as I mentioned, that you start with someone, they give you up to a point where they can give you, and then you find somebody else. So there hasn't been any point in my life where I didn't have a mentor or a master to guide me. I still have. Now even I have three. I started with one. Now I have three. So as I'm growing more into this, I'm actually having more mentors to guide me than less. So I personally think that that's the best way to do it, is find someone and learn from them and let them guide you. Let them guide you how to develop this. That has worked for me, so that's what I can share.
Okay, so that's a real experiment that you have done onto yourself, and that's what you wanted to share it with others that can be done. So I also wanted to give an example into this. I can say that there was one of the traits that I happened to see it into me, running away from the difficult conversations. And when I started joining your call, Sachin, that actually helped me out in facing those things. Okay, so now I just don't feel in running away from those conversations at any place. So I can definitely correlate to this, and this is what we can tell it to the others. Rest is up to them, that how exactly they take it,
That's
they go ahead with it.
exactly right. And and the setup of someone who's guiding you to develop your emotional intelligence is going to be very different as compared to what you have ever experienced. None of my masters have ever imposed anything on me. They have only brought it to my notice, and they have not even said anything like that, we already told you this, or we told you this 2 years ago, or this and that. Nothing. Like, they just keep pointing it, they just keep pointing it, that's it. And they never said that you still haven't done anything about it, you still haven't fixed it, you still haven't changed this. Nothing. They see it, they point it, they see it, they point it, and that's it. And whether I take it or not, either I'm ready to do something about it or not, that is totally up to me. They never interfere. They never make it like as if I'm not serious about it, or I'm not understanding it, or this is my ego or whatever. Nothing like that. They just keep pointing. That's it.